Hi everybody, thank you for tuning into my channel. As promised, here's part 2 of my expedition to Umlingla, where I'm going to talk to you on the planning front. Okay, to begin with, I put together an Excel sheet which looks like this. Made notes after reading blogs, watching some YouTube videos, Wikipedia, travel logs, Facebook, etc. I put down information and this helped me plan better, right? And then I made a list of things to take. Okay, in terms of riding gear, I used a BBG's Ladakh jacket and Rhinox trousers. I'm not advocating them or anybody or putting anyone else down. However, I'd like to recommend go try out what you're comfortable with and buy that. For example, the reason I bought that jacket was it was a little more comfortable compared to other brands. However, the riding trousers weren't so comfortable for me. So when I checked out the Rhinox riding trousers, that kind of fit me better. So I went ahead with that. As you're aware, my daughter joined me on this ride. She was wearing a leather jacket, elbow and knee guards, and a good helmet. These are the boots that I wore. The reason I bought this particular pair because it has a zip, and out of experience over there you really need things which will make your life simple because the amount of oxygen in the air is less, so you can't tire yourself out. Every time it rained or we went through a river crossing or water body crossing, water went into our footwear. So we put a layer of plastic between our footwear and socks and right up to our knees if possible. We did see some folks who were wearing gum boots like this. These are not at all expensive. Again, all these items are easily available on Amazon. I think this is a better bet. For my next ride, I'm definitely going to buy these because these boots go right up to your knees, which is going to be useful, especially when there's a river crossing. Alright, in terms of the bags, what did we carry? I did a lot of research. I was comfortable with the BBG tank bag, and I also bought a BBG saddle bag and riding gloves. As you can see, again, out of experience, I think you should do a little more research and pick up something where the rain covers would completely cover this, because when it rains, water will splash, and this is what happened to us. Water splashed and the inner sides of our bags were wet and clothes which were on the inner wall were wet. So we had to find a solution. So the next day we put our clothes in a huge plastic cover, and then we put that cover inside our saddlebags and then put this rain cover on it. Okay, so this takes a lot of effort, time, and is not very convenient. I came across this on the internet. I think this is a better idea. So before my next ride, I'm going to shift to pannier boxes because I think they are simpler to put and remove and carry around, and they're already waterproofed. Okay, so you may want to try this over a saddlebag unless you get something completely waterproof. Based on our experience, we felt that using a saddlebag requires a little more effort. Okay, because every time you got to put it on the bike, you need to adjust it and put on the rain covers, etc. But pannier boxes, once you stop, you just remove the latch and take them, use whatever you need and pack it, just bring it and latch it up and it's done. Okay, you don't have to put rain covers. And the reason I'm saying this is when you're in that high altitude, you will not have a lot of energy to actually do all this. And out of our experience, it took a minimum of 45 minutes to get the bike ready before we started riding. There were times it would take us an hour and a half because everything needs to be packed and you're almost wearing your riding gear completely, which is already heavy. Also, it's a good idea to wear a balaclava because of the amount of dust. If you're traveling with other riders, it's a good idea also to be connected with them. We bought Parani Intercom and it was pretty good, pretty useful in terms of distance also. It served our purpose. None of the brands that I'm talking about have sponsored us to be advocating them. I'd like you to do some research and take a decision on what you would like to buy and use. Like I said, I made a list of everything that we needed to carry, and what I did was also figured out where to put each of these. Now, for example, we were carrying a saddle bag which had a right and left, and a backpack and a tank bag. So we listed out all the items that we're going to take, and what I would do is drag and drop this to probably which bag it would be in. So this helped us plan our packing also easily. For example, things like power banks, phone, RC, permits, etc., batteries would need to be readily accessible. So things like that I put in the tank bag. There were certain things that we would not use until we stop, or maybe later on during the ride. Okay, so things like that we put in the backpack, tied to the back of the bike, and it requires more effort. And there were other things which we needed access to, however, not unless it's an emergency or it's not priority. For example, toolkits, etc. Okay, so that we put in our saddlebags, and all we had to do is remove the rain cover and unzip it, and there it is. Alright folks, now that we listed out what we are going to carry, we had a plan on when we are going to travel, and I started working backwards on closing things that needed to be procured. For example, we needed a raincoat, we needed to pick up an air pump. Alright, so I put out the day and date each of these tasks would be completed, and when they were complete, I just marked them as done. I'm going to share a link to this Excel with you. You can download it and use it. Otherwise, it's pretty simple. Looking at this, I'm sure you can create it yourself. Alright. And the next thing is, based on what did we take a decision on where to break our journey. Alright. The main reason for us to stay at these places was to acclimatize, because we're not used to that height. And again, I got all this information from various blogs, from Google Maps, etc. The temperature column is something that I didn't have. I've just added right now. I think it's a good idea for you to add it, because it'll help you prepare a little better. For example, when we left Chandigarh, the temperature was about 40 degrees, but when we reached Manali, it was 16. However, at Sarchu it was -5, and thereon it was, most of the places were single digit, if not negative. So the decision on where to stop was mainly on two things, on riding time as well as the altitude. Folks, a word of advice for all of you when you're planning this. I went to Google Maps and I checked on the travel time from one place to another, and most of my planning was kind of done late at night. So Google Maps will actually show you the time if you left at 10. Alright, so after a few days, when I checked the time during the day, the travel time actually changed. So you may want to factor that in your planning. So for example, Chandigarh to Manali shows 8 hours 40 minutes, but if you check sometimes during the day, it shows more than 9 hours, and at night it's a little lesser. And of course, depending on the route, you may want to be sensitive to this. Alright, so from Chandigarh, we stopped at Manali, and from Manali, we went to Tandi, Kelong, and stopped at Sarchu. The reason why these places are marked in bold are because this is where there are fuel stations, petrol bunks. The last bunk is at Kelong. From here, you need to carry your own fuel or rely on open petrol. Out of experience, the last time I used open petrol, it gave my vehicle a little trouble, and I have heard YouTubers and other folks who've traveled talk about it. So if your bike is extra sensitive, then I think it's a good idea to carry your own fuel. Alright, from Manali we set out via Chandi, Kelong, Jispa, and reached Sarchu. And from Sarchu we again headed towards Pang, Debring. Sarchu to Pang, we go past something called Ghata loops. The roads are very bad, it's very dangerous, there's a lot of traffic, so ensure you're prepared for this journey. And we stopped at Sokar, and the next day we set out to Hanle. The route from Sokar to Samdo and almost Mahe Bridge was extremely bad. Alright, and then we reached Nyoma. Here's a photograph of the petrol bunk that is being constructed at Nyoma. I hope it's ready by the time you folks go. From Nyoma onwards, the roads are good except for a few patches here and there. And once you reach Hanle, there was road work going on, so we had to still go off-road. Be prepared for that. From Hanle, we went to Umlingla. The recommended route is to go from Hanle like this via Potila Pass, and then there is a turn, and then you go all over, go around the mountains, up the mountains, and reach Umlingla. And Demchok is to the right. Okay. There are other routes also which other YouTubers have shared. So I'm going to talk about only the route that we took. The recommended route from Hanle is via Potila Pass, which is like this. However, road work was going on, and when we checked with the locals, they instead suggested another route, which is what we took. So as you can see, this is how it goes, and then you reach. This is where Nyoma Top is. Yeah, Nyoma Top. And then continue to the right. Continue on this road. Reach the same bridge, and go through all the mountains and reach Umlingla. This is the route we took. This is what the locals also recommended. Another thing is we did meet a lot of people who came from Hanle via Potila Pass to this place, and they were very upset with the road. We told them that our road was not good either. This is completely off-road. It's desert sand that you have to ride on. It's rocky terrain, and you can't really make out the roads over there. So, however, these folks didn't go back the same way they came. They followed us through and took this route. If I change the map to terrain or satellite view, this is how the road looks, and you can see those dots. It's very easy to get lost on this in this place because there are so many tire tracks, you won't know which one to follow. So the easiest thing to do is, there are poles that I mentioned about. Look for these poles as you are riding and follow them. They are not very close to each other, they're far, but you can see from one pole to another. Notice there are so many tire tracks, so to ensure that you don't get lost, follow the poles. At Hanle and most of these places, there is open petrol. Buy it from them. It's pretty expensive. Folks, I'm going to share this Excel sheet with you, which already has the height, distance, and approximate travel time. So use it for your planning if it's going to be helpful to you. And folks, in some cases, you may need a permit. So I recommend getting this permit beforehand. I think it's at least a week's advance when you have to apply for this. And you'll have to put in your details, the number of people. If it's a group, you'll have to put in everyone's details. Alright folks, that's it for now. I hope this video was useful. It's going to help you with your planning. In the comment section, if you have questions, please leave a comment and I will respond to it. And if there is something that you folks would like to add, also please feel free to add. I just hope those of you who are planning to go will benefit from this video. Alright, thanks a lot, and don't forget to click like, subscribe and share. Who knows who may benefit. Till next time.